I am just debating if I'm in the mood to actually film this video. I'm leaning towards not. I said last night that I think Bernardo Silva deserves credit for shooting a penalty down the middle, and I gave that guy. I backed him up. I stood up for Bernardo Silva. I really wish I hadn't. He has ruined my day. He has ruined my weekend. He has ruined my season. I am quite disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. It was Man City win 1-0 in an FA Cup semi final against Chelsea. You all know that. That's why you're here. But I am really disappointed with that loss. I feel like Chelsea actually had a chance there, and for the most part, actually deserved to take it as well. And yet they didn't. Shock. Who's shocked? Not me, because I've seen it about 35 times, maybe even more, maybe 40 times so far this season. There was no shocks really in the lineups. The teams looked something a bit like this, and I think Chelsea used a lot of tactics that we've seen that Real Madrid used in the Champions League in both legs. Really, I think Chelsea took something from that and tried to somewhat duplicate it or replicate it, whatever the right word is there. And the teams lined up something like this. So Man City have got their 3-box-3, Chelsea are in their 4-2-3-1. Off the ball, though, Man City had the majority of the possession. I'm going to go with Man City having the ball. Chelsea actually defended in more of a 4-4-2, but they pressed really aggressively, somewhat. I think the crucial part for the Chelsea front four was to really force Man City wide, and that's what I said Real Madrid did well against Man City in the week. And so the front four of Madueke, Palmer, Gallagher and Jackson, I thought it was really interesting actually. Gallagher played left attacking mid today, left wing, left mid, whatever you want to say. And I don't think he did a bad job, but it was not the right time to experiment with that, I don't think. So say Ortega's got the ball, John Stones has got the ball, Chelsea would press quite aggressively to force Man City out wide. Now, we know, as we said, Man City play this box in the midfield. They often try and play the ball to somewhere like Rodri or Akanji, and then they use this box to try and find the spare man and overload the midfield, which then gets them into the next phase of the attack. It's helpful for their transition and how they play. Jackson and Palmer would often press Akanji and Rodri. Gallagher would push Walker, and Madueke would just force the ball out wide. So in this situation, Chelsea were quite happy with Stones having the ball, and obviously after a while it became Diaz in the second half, but I don't think they were too fussed with him having the ball. And Madueke would half press Stones, Diaz, also use his cover shadow to kind of make sure Ake is covered, but it's Man City, and quite often Ake was the spare man. If we look at, I'll show you later the positions, but Ake was the spare man on this left-hand side, and he had so many touches this game, and I think he had a really good, underrated game today. Despite Man City not being at their best, I think he played well. And the ball would come out to Ake quite often, and then Chelsea would recover and retreat into this 4-4-2 that you can see. Now, what I found quite interesting is the number of attacks that would come down Man City's left-hand side or Chelsea's right-hand side. And that's because when Man City attacked, they attacked in numbers, but more on that left-hand side, obviously. So De Bruyne would push really high, close to Alvarez, almost in line with Alvarez at times. Foden also was quite central. It was Bernardo Silva playing as the right winger in this game. You can see he's almost isolated a bit on this right-hand side, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for the most part, the attacks would come down this side, and either Akanji or Rodri would actually join in with the attack more aggressively than sometimes we're used to seeing. Normally, if it's John Stones in this position, in the as a double pivot, he does push into the attacking line, and we've seen Akanji do it a few times as well. I think today it was more Rodri that did that than Akanji, but as I said, so we end up in positions like this. Whilst it was great for Man City's attack, and every time they got the ball down this side, I was quite worried. Gusto had a really good game, I think, but the only thing that Chelsea had from this was the ability to find Jackson. Now, bearing in mind, it's actually much higher. It's probably more like this. Jackson found so much space. He could either make the run this way or this way, and he would hold the line pretty well. And I think he stayed on side actually more times than he looked. Man City was so high that often he was in his own box, in his own half, sorry, so he was onside. We saw some really big chances, and that's kind of what I want to get to right now, is the big chances that Jackson missed. I mean, as I said, he made these runs and he would have one-on-ones, or it'd only be Diaz that was recovered to defend him, or Walker, one of the two. I'm half debating whether I want to criticise or love Jackson. Love's a strong word, actually, but he had so many great opportunities. We look at this one, I mean, he is through one-on-one and he doesn't shoot. This is my striker and he doesn't shoot. He had numerous chances like this as well. And I'll just have them popping up because there's so many of them. He decides to round the keeper, or he would play the extra pass, or his shot would just be awful, or it would get blocked because he took too long. But at the same time, he was such a good outlet for Chelsea. When we were pinned in, the through balls for Palmer and Madueke to then find Nicholas Jackson were really good because it allowed us to break quickly. Our attacking transition was really impressive. And I was happy with that. The build-up play, when we took longer and build out from defence, was not as great. We'd see Thiago Silva almost taking the goal kicks, so that Petrovic was the spare man because we were so worried about the Man City press and we didn't have that confidence to play out from the back. So I thought the attacking transition that Jackson enabled was really good, but he just could not find his chances. Now, in defence, however, Chelsea, I think, used something that they saw that Toni Kroos did against Man City in the Champions League, where he would drop deep and pretty much man-mark Kevin De Bruyne. Now, De Bruyne played as the left number 10 today, and I think Caicedo tried to do something very similar, or to somewhat an extent. So what I've explained to you in that 4-4-2 that Chelsea defended in was more of like a mid to low block, in a very low block, when the ball was up in this kind of position here. Gusto, obviously right back, would press him. But Caicedo would drop into what would then become a back five for Chelsea with Madueke and Enzo, or Enzo and Gallagher, or at times even it was a 5-3-2 with something like this. And so much of their play was built up down this side. But Alvarez would often try and get in between Chalobah and Silva. And Silva would try and get in between Silva and Cucurella. And Foden and De Bruyne would take up these little spaces really close to Alvarez, but in between the lines of Chelsea's defence and midfield. And it led to actually one time where these were switched, but it led to a really good chance where the ball comes to Foden, like so, and he does a little one of them, but Petrovic shaves it. But I think it was a sign of things to come. I think it was a sign of things to come because it was definitely not the first time that we saw Man City do this. And if I get rid of that, even when Doku came on for Grealish, I think Doku actually added even more. They defended in this situation. A couple of times we saw it was Enzo that dropped, but he would drop him. As I said in the week, Kroos would drop in between Nacho and Mendy, or in the first leg between Rudiger and Mendy. I think pretty much Chelsea tried to do the same thing, just instead it's Caicedo dropping in between Chalobah and Gusto. But when Gusto did come further out, it would be Chalobah that pushes out to the right and Caicedo would drop to make a back four. And it would almost defend in like a 4-4-2, a bit like this at times. But for the most part, it was this five at the back that we saw quite often. Time and time again, as a really low block, that's what Chelsea went for, to try and stop them balls coming into the box from Man City. And for 80 odd minutes, maybe 80 minutes, 83 minutes, it worked. But then, as I said, and I want to show you now, look at how many attacks Man City had on that left-hand side, and look at how many shots Man City had on that left-hand side. They had so many, and now what you can see now is Man City's average positions. I'm going to link it back to the Real Madrid fixtures again. They played an overload on that right side of the attack with Haaland, Foden, Silva and De Bruyne, which then isolated Grealish versus Carvajal on the left-hand side. I think today they've pretty much reversed it. It was Alvarez, De Bruyne, Foden, and Grealish that were really close together, or then Doku, and it isolated Bernardo Silva against Cucurella, and we know Cucurella has some. I actually think he had a decent game today. I'm not going to lie. I think he played quite well, which is not something I've said often. But they isolated Silva versus Cucurella, and when it comes to the goal, I mean, it's a bit fortunate that it fell to Bernardo Silva, and I don't think Cucurella could have done much more. He nearly blocked it, just not quite. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I mean, I am, because we lost because of it. But I don't think that there was much that Cucurella could have done in this situation. I actually think, when we look at this screenshot, Mudryk should be doing better. In this position, Cucurella is obviously going to defend the near post. I mean, Petrovic is not going to be able to cover the whole goal. And so Cucurella goes onto the line to help try and block that ball. I think Mudryk should just instinctively close down Bernardo Silva here. I don't know what he's thinking to not see that. He's just kind of a bystander in all of this. I think he had a really poor game today. I wanted him to start as on the left hand side instead of Gallagher. I actually didn't like Enzo in today in the lineup today. I wanted it to be like it was against Everton with Gallagher deep and Mudryk on the left. I think Enzo was in there to kind of control the play a bit more, slow the play down so Man City weren't on the ball constantly. And as much as I love Enzo, and I think he's got some brilliant passes in him and he can control the game so well, I just don't think that he added anything today. So regardless, I think Mudryk should be doing better here. But I would like to talk about the referee today. I don't know how much Man City paid. Was it Michael Oliver or whoever it was? There was multiple occasions I think he got the wrong decision. How is this not a penalty? Maybe I'm biased here. Maybe this is me talking from a Chelsea perspective, but this has to be a penalty. I know that Jack Grealish is jumping to try and block the ball, but his arm isn't by his side. His arm is out. And he's moving his arm towards the ball. That is a penalty, surely. I'm not exactly an expert, but I'm pretty sure Cole Palmer would score it. You'd like to hope. I mean, it wasn't given. Chelsea had their chances. And Chilwell, please. Do you know what a pass is? I don't know. I know you're a professional footballer, but do you know what a pass is? Look at this situation. How has he not played the pass into, I think, is it Sterling or Jackson that's running onto it? How do you not play that pass? It's a simple pass. You're left-footed and you just need to curl it around the defender and put it in their path. Put it in the path of Sterling or Jackson, whoever it is. And that is surely at least a good shot on target, a good attempt, if not a goal. The fact that it wasn't, because Chilwell decides to carry on dribbling and then play the pass way too late at a point where Diaz has recovered and given away a corner instead. And I mean, Mudryk in the last minute as well, 98th minute, the final minute, you get a free kick at the edge of the box. Don't put it so high that it goes behind the goal. Put it at least in a danger area. Do you know what? I'd rather it hit the first man than went where it went. I don't know. I'm fuming. I thought, you know what? I've composed myself enough to film this video. I don't know if I had. But regardless, I would like to think that Manchester United will beat Coventry tomorrow. I think they've only got one fit centre-back, Harry Maguire, but they're going to beat Coventry, surely. I really hope they don't. I guess I hope Man City win, I guess. That would be great, because they can do a double, because that's really what they need right now. Regardless, I think Man City win the FA Cup at this rate. I don't see either Coventry or Man United beating them in a final. And it's not their best chance of a trophy, but Pep can get another trophy and he's so good at it. And Mauricio Pochettino goes another English competition without a trophy as well. The Chelsea curse at Wembley continues. Shock. Who's shocked? No one. Thank you guys for watching. This is a bit more of a ranty video than I would have expected. I'm sorry, I didn't expect for all this to come out. I just needed to vent. And my light's gone. Perfect. that is a sign to end this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know who wins the final. Is it going to be Man City or is it going to be Coventry/Man United? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon with a brand new video. Cheers. Bye. I'm going to go cry now. Thanks. Goodbye.